Okay, so Marty, do you want to take over with anything you want to share or?
It was really I started to go through the topics that we gone through, and there was nothing that really jumped out at me that we really haven't at least touched base on. So I was hoping there was, something we could, I watched your video, Nadia, that, we can, why don't we talk a little bit about that, right? And what your
Oh, that's a
thoughts
slam
were,
dunk. That's a fun one.
right?
Yeah,
That works even
that's
better in symmetricals where you can heel about to weather and just do the gentlest touch of your kite or pull.
Beep.
yeah, so what I could do is I'll stop screen sharing and I will find that video real quick. And then
It'd be worth going through because I found it a couple things that were interesting. We can, because that's a
yeah, and
good,
that's
it was a
why I
good.
thought it would be a fun discussion and also to get more people to, maybe come and talk about the rules because things are different and that was on a reach. So my question was there something that I didn't get? So I thought that would be a fun discussion there. I know last time we did one on the rodeo and that was really fun because we had the drone footage and I thought that was a great ability. So using the video to talk about discussion on this is really fun. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the Facebook one post.
And then,
Man, you owned his future. That was hilarious. You could have made that a really rough day for him.
Well, I think but it was a Thursday. So and
And
the
just out of
reason
principle, I think I still would have done that.
well the reason why
Jason nodding.
I'm happy to play devil's advocate when you're ready, but all good. I get it. It's racing.
well one of the main reasons that I didn't touch him was because of our rules discussion, which was if I don't keep clear, then I'm in the fault too. So yes, we almost touched rigs, but if I did allow them to touch rigs, if we did touch rigs, then well then there's obviously I'm in the wrong as well.
Hmm.
where's proper course? Do we know?
Proper course is actually right where Callan's hand is, so that's where the mark is. That's
Right.
what we're trying to go to. And the problem was, and why I thought it'd be fun tonight is that we can use a whiteboard to show
Hmm.
the proper course and get an idea of how it worked. Because basically, and this I think was really interesting, is that Doug started on the boat end. So this is right after the start.
Yeah.
He started on the boat end, and he was the only one that put up a chute and was able to hold it the whole time. There were other ones that started at the boat end but didn't hold their chute because we're on a reach. And I
Right.
started the pin, and there was just no way for us. You can see we're just on a reach, barely.
Just
Um,
for a little context, Marty, if I might, Nadia, the course was kind of goofy that Thursday night where there was like no breeze, and but it was come, it was showing on the beach, and there was, the summer weather pattern. There had been a storm from the east, so it had been blowing out of the east, but the breeze had pretty much completely died, and they sent us out.
Switched. Yeah.
Not a lick of breeze, but the sea breeze was coming. And then so their start at 6:30 first gun, the breeze actually started to fill at like 6:23. Like it was right on the money. And it came in pretty well, but it was already full westerly. And the course they set was from A mark to Long Shoal F, and then back up to E, and
Yeah.
then I'm sorry, no, back to A, and then back south to E, and then to A and finish. So it was reach, 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 finish.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, they started on a reach, I guess, is the point. And actually, all of the legs were a reach, although it was a little bit of a tight reach at first because maybe it was a little bit south of west, I guess. I don't.
yeah, so can you guys see the whiteboard here?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
Looks
cool.
good.
Okay. So, so where he started was here, where he could be more in the direction, he could go down further, and I believe he was just going to drop it around here and then shoot up. where I had started here in the reach. And just like he's saying, the wind was, what do you say, Jason, right about there?
Yeah, it was south of west for sure, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And this would be west, is what we're saying.
Right.
Poking along on a J70 without even a compass, but I mean, it's pretty obvious when you go south. So
Yeah. And so that was my question. So windward leeward, easy. I understand the rules. And I thought this was a really interesting one because we're kind of on a reach coming up here. And instead of ducking, he went up this way. And that's where we had the conflict.
It won't let me do this.
Marty, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but and there's really no mark. Her proper course isn't even really a factor because at the end of the day, her proper course is her fastest way, which just means that not being covered is fastest.
Yeah, right.
The proper course that's a very basic windward leeward, and he chose to go windward.
And
What do you mean by windward leeward, right?
Well, I mean, if he had his kite up and he was covering her, he was the weather boat and she was the leeward boat.
Oh, right. That's right. Windward,
Yeah,
yes.
proper course has no bearing
Right.
on that.
Right. So when they established overlap at the start, right? There was always an overlap. Yeah. So she's just
I
leeward boat,
think,
and windward boat has to stay clear, right?
yeah, or I think that if nothing else, it seems as though they converged from outside of two boat lengths. So when they initially are converging, it appears to me
Right.
they're clearly overlapped, and
Yeah.
it was not from overtaking stern. They're converging from outside of
Yeah.
two boat lengths. So
Right.
I would agree that in that point, the overlap, leeward boat
It
has
has
right of way and could take
has
them to the
the
moon.
yeah to proper right right to
Yeah.
sail proper course. All right. So let's watch the video a little bit.
okay.
If you Hey Alex.
Hey,
So if you stop now, right? Nothing there. You came up and you came down and they didn't change course, right?
Yeah.
So if you back, I don't know if you can back up, but if you went back another 5 seconds, you had to come back down to kind of avoid him there.
Yeah.
And that's where early on, he's not trying to avoid contact right now in this first process, right?
Yeah. I would say, yeah.
Yeah. So any judge looking at this saw that you came up and you actually came down and their rudder never changed. And you just have to give him room and opportunity, but he didn't. He didn't come up at all yet. So and then continue on and we can watch the rest of the so he comes up. Okay, that's great. But then what happens? Does he come back down again?
Yeah. So I take him up a little bit, but then I start heading to the mark.
Yeah. You've right here, he should still be staying up. And he's yeah. So this is pretty black and white, right? He needed to stay farther, but he's not doing it because the kite's up. That's why.
And this is where you come up and tap his boom if he really doesn't want to avoid you. It's very, very minimal, but there's still contact made and it's not avoidable. Even if his kite, which it looked like it almost touched your crew, if his kite touches you, he still fouled you.
Yeah, our rig's almost touched a few times.
Yeah. And like he should be coming up a lot right now, but he's just trying to get over your stick.
You just pulled your tiller to avoid him again.
That's probably the third time he's fouled you. Now you come up a whole bunch and there's no way he'll fill his kite ever.
Yeah. I like the comment by Costa. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and my question is just to start conversation because I've been throwing up some videos here and there. One was me fouling the heck out of Seth at the start. That was a pretty good foul. Made sure
I didn't see that one.
Oh yeah, I was up there. Remember when I fouled you pretty bad? Did a 360. But my question was on this one was there something that was missed like what Jason was saying? Well, if you're coming up from behind or what could have happened?
So let me elaborate on that. If you want to play the video again from the beginning and stop. Hold on, stop. if you can. Okay, so right now you're pushing your helmet away a little bit, but has he fouled you yet?
No.
Okay, I agree. And then if you start it again and go a few seconds and stop. Okay, stop. Now you're straightened out. Right now, I would say, they're overtaking you, and maybe you could have continued to push your helm away and continued to stop. I don't know. It looks like there's a half a boat length or so between them, but I think at about 11 seconds, so this is 7 seconds. So you you've straightened your helm out. Do you feel like he's fouled you there?
Well, at that point, I need to not go up anymore. I cannot go up anymore
Okay.
because he's going, we're almost going to touch the spinnaker because it actually looks closer in, from the video, it looks like it's maybe not as close, but we
Okay.
are going to touch each other right here.
Okay, so go ahead and play another couple seconds and then, okay. So now stop again. So right there, whether, so you came up to within range of him, but I don't know that you were still in a proximity that he was required to alter course right there. And then I guess my question from here was, from this vantage point, it's it's hard to see if he is now clear ahead or not. And so that was my question, is like, okay, so now if he's broken overlap, then you are now overtaking from clear astern, and that changes everything. So that was the point I was making. So I guess just to reiterate, I obviously you see you come up, you push the helm away, you come up, and then you straighten the helm out and you continue going forward. Um, I don't know, it's hard to tell with the music, but I mean, I don't it's not terribly obvious that you or your crew are very frustrated, or like, you don't hear anything. You don't, and I know you're not necessarily required to. He's still required to give you room, but it seems to me like much later in the video, around I think like 50 some seconds, when you're being blanketed, and there's a lot of close proximity. And I would agree that that's definitely too close. And particularly when one boat is getting blanketed and is standing up in no breeze, and another boat is heeling over, kind of on its ear, then that's too close, because nobody wants tangle rigs. So whatever the situation, that needs to be handled better, probably. But I guess that was my initial perspective when I saw this was, you came up. I don't know that you came up far enough in order to force him to um, force him to keep clear. And then after that, whether or not an overlap is broken or not, I don't know. But I also don't really hear any communication coming from your boat until much farther in the video. So those are just a few takeaways that I had seen. So I guess,
Right, and
Well, and I,
I
something to
look at it. I
discuss.
look at it a little bit differently.
Okay.
I look at it where when you were coming up initially, they have to stay clear, right? The winter
Yeah.
boat has to stay clear, and all you have to do is give them room and opportunity to do so. Of which you
Right.
pulled the rudder down to avoid the collision, and all they did was go straight. So to me, they did not change course throughout the
Hmm.
whole maneuver. And the fact that you actually had to bear off to miss a collision tells me at that point they did not try to stay clear. There's nothing in the action of the Winder boat to show me that they tried to make clear in that first 10 to 12 seconds of the video. And
And
that's
these
to
are
me where
these
the
are
Okay.
ASIMs too. You have to leave room
doesn't
for a
matter.
boat to stand up. When you overtake an ASIM, their boat rocks to weather. And you're still responsible for
Yeah.
leaving room for that when trying to
Absolute. Well,
overtake. So
yeah, and they
if her rig
never
tapped his,
Yep.
right. They never changed course. They never tried to stay clear for the first up even till now. They haven't tried to stay clear. They have not altered their course. So to
Gotcha.
me, that shows that they were not trying to stay clear.
Okay.
The way that I
Fair
read
enough.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, and the only communication you have to say is protest. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
obvious that you're a
I don't
lured
disagree
boat.
with that.
Yeah.
Which brings
I
up
don't
a good
disagree.
point. So when we were going, of course, we yelled protest, their boats yelling a lot of different things. Um, so when we yelled protest, and it was mainly Callan, which everybody knows Callan, so he has a pretty loud voice. But when that happens, now in the end, I did not throw up a flag because it's a Thursday night, which then he does not have to do his turns, technically. But
Right.
again, we're sailing on an honor system on a Thursday night. I guess as, you really don't have to do your turn. So I guess, and that was something that I think would be good for us all to do because for me, I'm like, well, I'm not protesting on a Thursday night, but then this boat takes first place. Well, at least I should have thrown up a flag.
So
Why
there's
don't you want to? Let me ask
actually
you a question. Why don't you want to protest on a Thursday night?
Mainly because a lot of people get frustrated. RC gets frustrated, everybody gets frustrated, and they're like, seriously, on a Thursday night. So it does cause a lot of conflict. And the last time that we got into conflict with, um, you know,
Firewater,
yeah, no,
Mr.
not fire
Firewater. It's
water.
okay.
No, it wasn't really fire water.
It's
It was with this
the
individual.
cruising.
You know,
I think
Oh,
it's the other divisions of boats, like the cruising boats, and like they don't understand that part of one design is to protest, and so they see it as they kind of that those groups of people kind of see it as excessive. They don't understand it's part of the thing.
I I understand. Right. I think there's two. Right. In my mind, sailing as much as I do, the best thing we can do is try to politely follow the rules, right? Because they're there for a reason. And if everybody knows they can take advantage of you on a Thursday night and get away with it and not getting protested, is that really what we want to be doing,
and it's not
right?
fun.
And
Exactly.
it's not fun. And we
Yeah.
lose people out of the
100% agree.
sport. I know a lot of people that have left the sport because of that.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I said, we have rules for a reason. And one of the things that we did in Key West one year, think about this Key West, J111s, one design class. We said, you know what? We're gonna have 3 minutes on the dock protests. If you have a protest, you're gonna meet on the dock with the PRO. You're gonna tell your story. The other person's gonna tell their story, and they're gonna make a decision, and it's final. And that's how we're gonna handle it. Okay, and we're going to treat it as a learning process, and we're going to treat it as but we have rules and to make sure everybody understands the rules, and this way we're not wasting hours of time, but yet there's still a little bit of a process that you feel like at least somebody's been heard, and maybe what you thought wasn't quite right, and that seems to work very well. So yes, if it's a cruising boat and a Meldus 24 at Davis
Yeah.
Island, ugh, you know you politely go up and maybe say, "Hey, just next time, can we talk about this?" And if they say no, they don't want to learn, then yeah. But when the 24 group should be a little bit, right? If we
Yeah.
want to keep people kind of having fun and fair in the
I,
24 group, I think you should at least try to
I,
do that.
yeah. I think it goes a long way to try to maintain a consistent level of expectation. And I think it's super positive, obviously, that we're all friends, and I'm lucky to have lots of friends sailing in the Melges 24 fleet, and I often enjoy it myself. But I think that it can be frustrating when there is inconsistent expectations, and I think that that was, some of the drama in years past was maybe just some of the growing pains that Melges 24 fleet has gone through in going from only, literally a few boats to now having a really worthwhile presence is like, okay, I think, the mail just, the fleet grew and then it was like, oh, well, we really need, we're one design fleet. We need to be really taking this seriously. But then not everything meets that standard. And so there's kind of a lot of back and forth. So I would, and just, from being a long time J24 guy or one design guy in general, and watching the fleet dynamics of the J24s and that fleet, at Davis Island for 20 years, I would say, you know what? Have your flag on the boat and ready to pull. And if somebody fouls you, then you should make them well aware and within the structure and the confines of the rules that are provided for this
Yeah.
sport. And just because it's, beer can racing and it's fun race, that doesn't mean that, you can't still settle it at the bar. But I think that at least would maintain a more even level of instructions. And I'll tell you, I do believe we have some very strong personalities, in the Melges fleet, and at the yacht club, and I'm going to include myself in that as well as, several of our friends. So, I mean, if I was out there, if I was driving and I found somebody, my perspective very well may be different, but that's okay because different perspectives happen. But it's certainly, I do believe it's a Corinthian sport, and I want to win well and do well and sail hard and fast and be competitive. And I don't want to leave an inch, but it needs to be done right and well. But I do think that sometimes you have to help people um, maintain that standard of rule because not everyone is going to do it on their own.
Right.
So
Well, and I
And
think that's
here,
why we're
my two
doing these
cents, and I think,
courses. I think that's
yeah,
why
which
we're putting this together and
yeah,
kind of coming
which
up
I
with
do
it.
think is really positive,
And just like what
very
Jason
positive.
said, we went from a perf, we were racing in perf, and now we're racing in a class. So there is going to be different rules. And I think that that's why it's so neat that we're doing this Monday class because we're going through this and we're going through this. And I think it's not fun to race a race where some races we go by some rules and some races we go by other rules, like nudes versus Davis Island race. I think it's important that when we're racing class, we race the class races and we because otherwise it's very gray area. And so that's why I love this Monday because we can go through the rules. And this was just something brought up just to talk about rules and just to go through different ideas.
I have
So,
a question.
yeah.
So, in keeping in mind with that, and moving from perf to one design as a class, and then also, keeping up standards, as Chavez says, do we need to do something, or does some kind of understanding need to happen with race committee to be like, hey, this is okay, so that it's not seen as a burden to them that, oh god, the Mildred's fleet is protesting again, oh it's going to be drama. Be like, no, 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 this is fine, this is part of this is good. And even is there something we can do to like integrate members of race committee into that theology for the Mildred's fleet?
ooh, I like what you're saying because
Yeah.
I think you turned it into a
That's
learning
exactly what
training.
we turned into with that last regatta, Marty, where they didn't even want to hear the
Yep.
protest.
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah.
The race committee threw it away.
Yeah. That's a shame. But they need to
Yeah. And
understand that that's the way the sport gets better is that we learn the rules of racing. Like our society has rules for a reason, right? So we stay organized. Our traffic has rules for a reason, and sailing does the same thing. So if we want to grow this sport and have people not get frustrated and leave, that's that. Yeah, they should. There should be a little upwelling to say, hey, we're here to help and learn, and the only way we'll do that is with a honest conversation at the dock or at the bar. And I think, you're right. I think it's great if there's a way to kind of at least get the race committee on board a little bit, and that'll help. It's just going to take a little time, but
Yeah.
Alex,
And maybe what was your discussion there about the 3 minutes on the dock?
so what we found is nobody wants to spend an hour dealing with a protest form and doing this, that, and the other, right? So if you could take a somewhat non-partisan party to listen to the story and make a decision, then that really it did a couple things, right? It showed that we're trying to learn and we're trying to hold each other accountable to the rules. And if I was wrong in what I said, like, oh, hey, you know what? After the gun, you can't keep bluffing, right? Oh, okay. Then I was wrong, and that happens about half the time. So to me, there. I mean, it'd be a little bit harder to do that, but I think there's a way that maybe you could, I don't know,
Class. Yeah.
As a class, you could do it at Davis Island a little bit. It just helps speed things up. Now, I want to say one more thing, which I think is very, very important, and we haven't talked enough about this, is like in your scenario, the best thing you can do is have a witness in
Hmm.
any scenario. And what typically happens, and I had a protest on a Tuesday night here, typically happens if you don't have a witness, it's a he said, she said kind of scenario. And then there's politics in the club that get involved. And if you're not favored by the person that's doing it, you're gonna lose. Which is exactly what happened to us. So I think one of these things that we have to implement is when you see a scenario like you had and you say protest, right? Somebody should look around to see if there's another boat right there that could be a witness. And vice versa. If you see a scenario that happened, you can go back and say, "Hey, Doug, I saw that. I thought the other guy was wrong. I'm happy to go and talk to the other guy, and maybe we can have a cordial conversation saying that we both thought, you didn't stay clear, right?" I think in Davis Island on Thursday nights, just having another witness through these scenarios will then it's two people on one. It's kind of hard to argue. One on one, you can make it a point. Yeah, I stayed clear. Well, the rudder never changed. Oh yeah, it did. Well, look at the video. It sure didn't, did it? But that's what typically happens, right? Oh yeah, I stayed clear. I'm sure that's what Doug said, right? So, but anyhow, I think a couple things can happen here, right? Is always try to get a witness, look at an incident, and always be a witness. And then if we can politely encourage the fleet that rules and following rules and finding an easy way to get through a protest or a discussion, let's just have an honest discussion and we can, have a beer afterwards, will only help the
Send
class.
it to
So
mine,
those are the
just in
two things.
case.
Yeah.
Marty, one comment on that. We should leave this with how to sail faster as well, out of knowing the rules. And one of the big thing is knowing that whenever a boat is closing in on you with a kite up, if you close gauge with them while you're even on speed before you're covered, you can also induce the foul as well, which does
Hmm.
clear that boat off of you so they're not covering you as long. Because if you wipe them out, legally, of course,
Funny
your
you should
race is
mention that.
faster.
Yesterday, I was sailing on a J121 and a Soto 40, which owes us 45 seconds a mile, was behind us with a kite. And we did that exact same thing. We never, he wiped out twice before he could actually roll us. But
Did
yeah,
that with a
there's a little bit of that.
4395 with a J24.
Yeah,
But you know
exactly.
what?
Yeah,
It I think Jason might have been with me on that one.
yeah. But I don't think Nadia had a
Same
tough.
rules apply.
Yeah, Nadia had a tough situation there because he's obviously coming from above and probably from behind a little bit faster. So Nadia, maybe you close that gap a little bit earlier
Yeah.
would help a little bit, and just saying lured boat, and then you can't be egregious about just coming up and
But it's the strategy of it. It's using the
there's
rules
a
to your
strategy.
advantage to get that boat off of you so they can't overtake you as
But
well.
it's a
And you
tough
can keep your air
situation,
clean.
right? If he did what he did and you didn't get there in time, he's still going to roll you. Great,
But hey,
right?
identify it sooner. You know how it's going to play out.
Identify it sooner for sure.
Well, and that's
And
what I love
then
about
the
these
other
videos. I'm learning
Yeah, the other
each time.
side of the other comment I had was Davis Island specifically. I find it very hard if you wanted to do that dock chalk talk. Is you could go grab half the fleet, and very few of them are one design sailors. And of the one design sailors, they typically don't show up there. So to find 3 or 4 people that will all be standing on the dock that know the rules to even hear the rules and don't just want to all agree with each other. I'll have a discussion with half the cruising fleet about basic one design. It could be port starboard, what to do.
Yeah.
And they're arguing with me about a 40-foot boat and what they did in the 70s
Yeah.
before I was born. So
Yeah. Well, hey, here's
we
what
would
you
have to
do.
have a
Here's
dedicated set of volunteers that know the basic rule. They don't have to
here's
be
what we do.
judges,
This
just
is really
basic
easy,
rules.
right? This is really easy. If situation happens, guess what we're going to do on Monday night? Is we're
Talk
going to
about
talk
it.
about it and we're going to record it and we're going to put it right on the Davis Island, site and just, I think that's probably a very good way of doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I
And
know
then,
No, it's one
Alex, he
thing.
has a video camera, a few of us
yeah,
do, on the back so that we're able to discuss it and see
yeah,
what we should have done.
Marty, next week, I'd like to make a recommendation of a recent
yep,
one. Port
mhm,
starboard. Port boat proceeds to duck, starts ducking, starboard boat tacks in front of them instead of holding
yep,
course.
yep.
Most people don't know that the starboard boat thinks they have infinite rights forever.
No, they don't. No. Okay, that's on the list for next week.
That'll be good. Okay, well, let's do it next week. Thank you so
One
much,
last
guys.
one last thing I'll just mention as far as the protest is that you can always protest somebody and like I said, take it to the bar, which has certainly earned me a few rum drinks in my day and also cost me several. So
Yeah.
Well,
it's good for
again,
my
the
revenue.
goal the goal has to be to encourage sailing, but to help people help understand and make it fun for everybody and understand the rules. And we'll all have difference of opinions, but if we come in soft and say, "Hey, let's talk through this because I thought I was right," um, you know, and don't go throwing fists in the parking lot kind of thing, which happens it can happen, has
One
happened.
time, but
Yep,
Yeah.
all good.
No,
it's
exactly.
awesome.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Marty, again.
All right.
Thanks, Marty.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Marty.
y'all.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
All
All
right.
right. Talk to you
Have a great
soon.
night.
See
Take
ya.
care.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.